Take on Nottingham Forest. And Mercy, it was a convincing win for City last time round, but this is at the City ground today. And looking at City as a whole this season, when you look at the context of the season, the way things by their high standards have unfolded, still in the FA Cup, so with the FA Cup trophy in a place in the Champions League, be at least some compensation for what by their standards has been a poor season.
Yeah, but I mean, virtually anybody would take that season, wouldn't they? Top four and win an FA Cup. But this is City we're talking about. Yeah, but it couldn't carry on, could it? It was impossible. You can't keep on going week in, year in, season out, going deep in all these trophies. You've got to, it was only a matter of time. It was just when it was going to be. And then the Rodri injury was the one as well, probably the straw that broke the camel's back. But, yeah, it would have been some doing if they'd have done it again. I mean, they go deep every year, you know, treble, you know, and fighting for every tournament. I think if they got in the top four this season, which I expect them to with their fixtures coming up, and win the FA Cup, I don't think it's been the worst season ever.
But the thing is, Clinton, Mercy's absolutely right. All of the great teams have a drop-off. You look at the second part of Super Sunday tomorrow, the Manchester United drop-off over the last few years has been massive.
It won't be like that. Yeah, I just want to make sure it won't be like that.
I'm not even suggesting it's going to be close to that, Merce.
Yeah,
but the drop-off from City compared to what we've been seeing over the last few seasons has been bigger than even you could have expected, surely.
Yeah, it's big, but I think when you lose a player as big as Rodri, you're going to have a big drop-off, and some players have not been in good form, and Mercy's right, it was never going to last forever. This is probably the one season. City will come again next season, but I think if they finish in the top four, playing Champions League football, I think, listen, they'll attract players anyway because of Pep Guardiola and the players they have, but if you're playing Champions League football, it's more attractive. And to win the FA Cup, it's still a good season. Maybe not a good season for Man City, but where they are at the moment, it'll still be a good season.
And Sue, before we look forward to the game that you're going to be watching, let's just cast our minds forward to the summer, because, look, we expected, it was a very busy January for Man City. We expected it'd probably be pretty busy for City this time round in terms of the summer transfer window. But there's speculation over the future of the likes of Kevin De Bruyne. John Stones has been mentioned. Jack Grealish, and Pep Guardiola speaking very publicly about him, saying he's lacking that rhythm at the moment. He's on the bench again today. How different might City look come the start of next season?
I think they will, and they were probably forced to bring in more players in winter than in the January transfer window than what they wanted to do. Ideally, it probably would have been this summer. And I think, listening to Pep Guardiola, he thinks maybe he should have done it before that. He didn't know that Rodri was going to get injured. So many of the defenders were obviously going to be out injured as well. So he had to do it then. And you can see by the young centre-backs that he's brought in, centre-back, full-back, that's for the future. Marmoush, you can see, yes, is for the here and now as well. So he's brought in players that we knew that they were going to have that rebuild, but I just think they had to do it probably that little bit sooner. And I think, yes, in the summer, those players that are aging, he's kept saying, hasn't he, the midfield area, we don't have energy, we don't have legs, we have an ageing team. So, yeah, they will have to but it's bringing in the right sort of players. And I don't really worry for Manchester City, because I look at the players that they've got in there now, and they do have a lot of young players. You even saw in the FA Cup, Nico O'Reilly, scoring those couple of goals. So they've got a lot of younger players that, yes, they're going to develop and grow together. And in a manager, Pep Guardiola, he'll sort of nurture them through. So, but yes, I do think that they will be different next season.
And Boydie, bringing things back to today and today's game away to Nottingham Forest, we'll talk about Forest home form in just a moment, but you look at last season for City, 4 away defeats in all competitions in the whole of last season. You look at what's happened, and this is just since October the 30th, by the way, when the rot began for City. They've lost 10 of their 16 games. Okay. Why away from home have City looked so vulnerable this season?
Because I think when you look at the opposition, I've probably thought they can get at them and cause them problems, and that's exactly what's happened. I think a lot of the times when you go back over the last few years, a lot of teams would have sat in and hoped they got something, whereas there's genuine belief with a lot of the teams now that they can get something against Manchester City. Because of the way or the amount of goals they have scored for a period of time now, everybody expects that that's just a number you're going to get. When you look at only Spurs have scored the exact same, and Liverpool have scored more than them. So still going forward, they're a threat, but it's defensively. Defensively, they're losing far too many goals. And even the best, if you're giving teams a head start, or asking strikers to score 2 or 3 goals every single game, it's virtually impossible. And I think it does catch up with you. The other interesting thing for me with Manchester City is, Pep Guardiola through his career, he left Barcelona when they were at the peak of their powers, went to Bayern Munich, the exact same. You can't, and I think as a manager, it can be very difficult to break up a winning team because you've had such a bond with these players over a period of time now. And, you know, that's where, you know, when you look at Sir Alex Ferguson and even Arsene Wenger and for the longevity, you've got to be ruthless. You've got to be ruthless and just move people on sometimes. And it's now getting to that stage where Pep Guardiola, he's going to have to be ruthless in the summer and move a few of them on because he's spoken about, you know, them struggling in terms of the legs. Kyle Walker's obviously, he's left. But you kind of get the feeling that that decision was made by Kyle Walker himself. And sometimes as a manager, when you've had that bond with players that have won so much, it's difficult to say enough's enough and move them on. But it's definitely getting to that stage now come the summer.